Hey everyone, it's Kong again with the final Should You Summon episode of 2020. Good riddance. To 2020, not to Should You Summon. Anyway, Happy New Year's! As always, I'm going to be presenting high-level overviews using these 4 criteria to help you decide whether this banner is worth your hard-earned vouchers and crystals. How these 3 characters fit into your team, whether they unlock any bonds, what kind of content they get used for, and their future availability. So let's get right into this Destiny banner featuring Sigma, Clarett, and Brenda, running from December 31st to January 13th. As a Destiny banner, the first SSR that you pull is guaranteed to be one of these 3 that you don't already have. After you do pop that first SSR, or if you already have all 3 of these characters, then it just becomes a normal raid up banner. So let's go ahead and get started with Sigma. Sigma is a long-range sniper, even in his infantry class. His unique helmet has a 25% chance to boost his attack by 20% for 4 turns. His 3-cost skill lets him mark a target anywhere on the map, allowing him to do 15% extra damage to them. This skill then turns into a 4-range straight-line snipe. Since placing the ranger's mark doesn't count as an attack, this triggers the act again in his normal talent, essentially allowing you to mark a victim and then attack them at 6 range on the same turn. He also has a new SP Assassin subclass coming in February, and that'll give him some additional viability in PvP, so I'll talk more about that in a moment. He's a member of Yles Legends, buffed by Landius and Sigma, METEOR Strike, buffed by Zerida, and Protagonists, buffed by Matthew. So he does have a fusion power for Yles Legends, and his faction buff gives affected allies a 15% damage boost as long as you're under 80% hit points. Now for bonds, as the protagonist of his game, Langrisser 5, Sigma is of course a bond unlocking machine. He unlocks the defensive bonds for Alfred and Omega, and the attack bonds for Lambda, Rainforce, and Bannermate Clarett. For his own bonds, he needs Varna for his defensive bond, which is fairly easily accessible, and Ultimuller for his attack bond. For content, in PvE, he's on faction for Phoenix and Scylla in the Eternal Temple, and I could see him being able to use his range to nice effect against either of them. He's also on faction against Jormungandr, Hugin and Munin, and Nidhogg in Ancient Beckoning. Like any on-faction archer, he should be able to pull his own weight against Hugin and Munin. He might also be a useful assist against the Thunder Dragon and maybe the Ice Dragon by doing on-type damage from a safe distance, but there are generally better characters for those jobs. In PvP, usually Sigma's a niche case, mainly used to carry another Yles Legends faction buff or to try to snipe someone at range, but his new SP Assassin class makes him a lot scarier. His SP talent gives him a boost to attack when entering battle, whether he initiates or not. It also gives him a boost to range and movement if he ends his turn without attacking, or 30% damage reduction if he has attacked. His new signature skill teleports him to whoever he targeted with his 3C Ranger's mark and attacks, unaffected by melee penalties. If he has his main talent boost active, neither unit's soldiers will even attack, making this a hero versus hero duel. After the battle, you heal 50% HP, gain plus 50% counterattack damage, and of course the 30% damage reduction from your talent, essentially putting him in turtle shell mode until you can rescue him or move him away the next turn. He also has a 1-cost skill that lets him ignore guard if his talent boost is active, meaning he can effectively mark and assassinate, or at least attempt to assassinate, any target on the map. Basically, you use your 3C Ranger's mark to pick a target, and then you either use Act again or wait until your next turn, and then you can teleport to them, ignore guard, attack the hero directly in a hero versus hero battle, and if you kill them and survive, you basically sit there with your 50% healed HP, doing extra counterattack damage, and taking less damage from the enemy. Once he's done his job of assassinating someone, he basically becomes an annoying thorn that your enemy has to deal with. Anyway, for availability, he is scheduled to return in mid-March on a raid-up banner alongside METEOR Strike faction buffer Zerida. Okay, let's move on to Clarett. Clarett is a strong, highly mobile, single-target DPS. Her talent boosts her damage and reduces her damage taken, but most importantly, it stocks up any unused movement for your next turn. At 6 stars, if you end your turn without moving, you can get a full 5 additional movement for your next turn. This makes her a dangerous long-range threat in PvP and a great counter to someone like Zerida. She does have a 3-cost skill that's basically a fancy, unique version of Roar with some extra effects, dispelling buffs before combat, speeding up cooldown on a kill, and boosting damage based on her extra talent mobility. She's a member of Yless Legends, buffed by Landius and Sigma, Meteor Strike, buffed by Zerida, and Princess Alliance, buffed by Luna and Shelfaniel. For bonds, she unlocks the attack bond for Alfred, and she needs Luna for her defensive bond and Bannermate Sigma for her attack bond. Now for content, in PvE, she's on faction for Leviar, Scylla, and Phoenix in the Eternal Temple, and her long-range slaying ability could make her useful for mob cleanup on the latter two. She's also on faction for Needhog, and particularly useful against Jormungandr. In general use PvE, she could also be a helpful treasure hunter. In PvP, she's a dangerous top-tier unit thanks to her talent allowing her to stack up a turn's worth of additional mobility. This can be very oppressive in terms of zone control, making her a strong counter to Zerida by denying her out-of-danger zone talent bonuses, and it usually ends up giving her a tasty assortment of possible targets. Lightning Flash allows her to act again with reduced damage if she fails to finish off an enemy. She has been a commonly deployed tank buster, although she's lost a bit of her shine now that strong single-target tanks like Ledin, Albedo, Ilusha, and Hilda are becoming more common this season. For availability, unlike Sigma, Clarett doesn't show up on the upcoming banner schedule at all, meaning she won't be headlining another banner until July at the absolute earliest. Finally, we'll move on to Brenda. Brenda is a high DPS cavalry and lancer unit with a wide variety of attack and mobility skills. Her talent boosts her attack power against foes with lower hit point percentage, and also gives you a free additional turn after attacking or being attacked a certain number of times. Her 3-cost skill, coming to global servers shortly after this banner in January, is almost like a beefed up chivalry, boosting her attack and letting her move 3 additional spaces before attacking, also letting her move through enemies, Ares style. She's a member of Yless Legends, buffed by Landius and Sigma, and Meteor Strike, buffed by Zerida. For bonds, she unlocks the defensive bonds for Shalinka and Helena, and for her own bonds, she needs Virash for her defensive bond, and Rainforce for her attack bond. For content, in PvE, she's on faction for Scylla and Phoenix in the Eternal Temple, and with her mobility skills, I could actually see her being useful for both of those, depending on your team, of course. She's also top tier for both Needhog and Jormungandr in Ancient Beckoning, with her talent's extra turns speeding up her DPS dramatically. In PvP, she plays a similar role as tank-busting Lancer Elwyn with her access to Frontal Assault, although, like Clarett, she's starting to see more difficulty here with Landius moving to Lancer, and more single-target damage reduction tanks coming into play. She does have Strike and Move Again and her talent to give her lots of options for approaching and retreating. Elwyn was sick and tired of Brenda being positively compared to him in terms of mobility, so he went out and got a mobility upgrade with his SP class. For availability, like Clarett, Brenda also doesn't show up again on the upcoming banner schedule, meaning she won't be headlining another banner until July at the absolute earliest. Of course, it'll still be possible to pull her off banner when you're trying desperately to summon a character that you really want. Maybe she'll show up. Okay, so here's the quick and dirty. We have Sigma, who's a long-range sniper who becomes a longer-range assassin with his upcoming SP class. He carries a faction buff for Yless Legends, and he unlocks the defensive bonds for Alfred and Omega, and the attack bonds for Clarett, Lambda, and Rainforce. Then we have Clarett, who's a highly mobile flying DPS who's diminished but still dangerous in PvP. She unlocks the attack bond for Alfred. And finally we have Brenda, who's a good general-purpose single-target DPS who unlocks the defensive bonds for Shalinka and Helena. Okay, now just a reminder about upcoming banners. Assuming the extension of the Overlord crossover banner hasn't shuffled anything else around, we should have the return of the recurring Bozel, Liena, and Luna banner coming next week. This is an essential banner for newer accounts, as all 3 of those units are broadly useful. After that rerun, we'll see the launch of the next batch of new heroes, Rosenseal and Shalltear. Rosenseal is a meta-changing healer with a kit that helps to curb the oppressive RNG of the AoE debuff meta that was prevalent in Season 5. She's not going to eliminate debuff strategies altogether, but she is going to be a fixture in a lot of boxes, and she'll be something to look out for sure. She could change your ban pick strategy. Okay, I hope this video was helpful. Let me know in the comments if you're looking to snipe someone specific on this banner and what kind of luck you had. I have all 3 of these characters, and I'm running out of time to recover from my bad Shalltear luck, or good Albedo luck, before Rosenseal comes around, so I'm gonna have to pass. Thanks so much for watching though, and I'll catch you in the next Should You Summon.